Good evening. You're watching the main news on HKIBC. I'm Johanna Chan. Here's a look at tonight's top stories. All residents of care homes for the elderly are to get COVID jabs by next Friday. New virus infections in the city climbed to over 58,000. And cargo services helped Cathay Pacific narrow its loss for last year. Authorities have pledged to vaccinate all elderly residents of care homes with one jab by next week as they step up the campaign to contain the fifth COVID wave. But no date has been fixed for citywide testing, which the chief executive says will depend on the situation. Carrie Lam says she'll meet the media daily except Tuesdays to provide updates on COVID. In her first session this morning, the chief executive touched on several pandemic-related issues, including the plight of the elderly. Most of those who died in the fifth wave so far were unvaccinated elderly people. Care homes for senior citizens have been hard hit, with over 85% affected by COVID. To strengthen immunity, the government aims to vaccinate all elderly residents with one jab by next Friday. Special arrangements will be made for nursing homes without cases, with carers given hotel accommodation and designated transport. The government is also setting up isolation facilities for infected elderly people at Kai Tak Cruise Terminal and the Choi Wing Road and Shakip Mei sports centers. 7 more sports centers can be pressed into service, but because of a manpower shortage, private hospitals will have to pitch in. Healthcare officials will follow up on elderly people isolating at home and give them care packages with RAT kits, Chinese medicines, and thermometers. There are still no confirmed dates for citywide testing. The chief executive said it will depend on the COVID situation. She added that the government is making arrangements, noting that good planning is needed for such a massive operation. In her briefing, Carrie Lam announced that around half of the beds in public hospitals are expected to be used for patients infected by the virus. This came as Queen Elizabeth Hospital started transferring and discharging non-COVID patients as it prepared to treat those who contracted COVID. In a bid to free up more beds for patients infected by the virus, the authorities confirmed this morning that Queen Elizabeth Hospital will be converted into a COVID-designated hospital. The hospital is expected to provide 1,500 beds and will only take in life-threatening non-COVID cases after the conversion.
The aim of doing so is we hope by concentrating the COVID patients together, concentrating the expertise, the resources and the management of such patients, we will be able to provide better clinical outcomes for the COVID patients. So in the coming few days, we are going to transfer the non-COVID patients that are currently in Queen Elizabeth Hospital to the different hospitals.
About 250 patients will be transferred, while 130 will be discharged. From today, non-COVID patients will not be brought to Queen Elizabeth Hospital by ambulance. Authorities hope to complete all procedures by Sunday. Chief Executive Carrie Lam also announced that over 9,000 public hospital beds, or half of all the beds in public hospitals, will be used for COVID patients. This came as private hospitals were asked to take in non-COVID patients and people with milder symptoms. The sector is also expected to help manage community isolation and temporary care centers. Hong Kong's case numbers shot back up to over 50,000 today as the government's online reporting system went into full swing. Deaths rose by 195. One fatality was a 41-year-old foreign domestic helper. Winner Wang reports.
Hong Kong's daily COVID caseload made a massive jump today to 58,757. This came as the government's online reporting platform for people who tested positive through rapid antigen tests went into full swing. Almost 26,000 of today's cases were confirmed through the system, and the rest through PCR tests.
The number of rapid antigen tests has not been counted into the cases previously. So for today, we have over 50,000 cases, including the rapid antigen test. So we need to monitor closely for a few days to observe the the real trend, including the rapid antigen test. But however, purely judging from the number of PCR tests, we think that the increasing trend of cases in Hong Kong has been stabilized and has reached a plateau level.
Another 195 deaths were added today, marking another step up in this statistic. The patients' ages ranged from 41 to 105. The youngest was a foreign domestic helper who fell unconscious at home. The woman tested positive for COVID and also had a brain hemorrhage. The authorities are trying to find out the exact cause of death. The fatality toll in the fifth wave so far has risen to 2,600, putting the death rate at 0.46%. Around 90% of those who died were unvaccinated or had not completed their jab programs. Wong, HKIBC.
Police have arrested 3 men accused of going online to encourage others to spread COVID on purpose and to destroy community testing centers. The suspects are between 21 and 28 years old. One, aged 28, was diagnosed with the virus late last month. He reportedly boasted on social media about going to different restaurants, including some in Wong Tai Sin and Diamond Hill, and deliberately leaving used tissue paper behind. The man said he wanted to spread the virus to so-called blue shops, referring to pro-government businesses. The other 2 suspects allegedly encouraged people to disrupt community testing centers by blowing them up, damaging facilities, and attacking staff. Locally transmitted COVID cases on the mainland have risen to a 2-year high. There were 233 local infections yesterday, compared with 175 on Monday. 94 cases were detected in the northern province of Jilin, bordering North Korea. An outbreak in Qingdao City appeared to be under control, with infections in the former hotspot dropping to 55. There were 104 imported cases, 1/3 of them in Guangdong province. Cathay Pacific's loss for last year narrowed from 2020 as its cargo operations helped the airline tackle challenges posed by COVID. Hong Kong's flag carrier vowed not to cut its workforce or salaries. Chloe Feng reports.
Despite the challenges operating in a city with some of the world's most stringent anti-COVID measures, Cathay Pacific's losses for last year fell to $5.5 billion, sharply lower than the $21.6 billion deficit in 2020. Passenger numbers plummeted because of COVID, and Hong Kong's flag carrier operated at 2% of pre-pandemic capacity. But robust demand for cargo services and cost cutting saw the airline making a $2 billion profit in the second half of last year. Chairman Patrick Healy attributed the income to his cargo operations, even though cargo capacity last year was about 20% of pre-COVID levels.
From the excellent second half results that the team delivered, effective cost management and prudent cash management.
The company plans to increase cargo capacity to 30% of pre-pandemic levels this month. Healy welcomed the arrival of Greater Bay Airlines in the region.
Competition is what makes us better, makes us stronger, makes us fitter, confident in our own ability to win in the market, providing excellent customer service and serving the people of Hong Kong.
Healy added that there are no plans to change the airline's shareholder structure or apply for further government funds, despite a monthly cash burn of up to $1.5 billion. The airline disclosed that its crew spent over 73,000 nights in quarantine hotels in Penny's Bay, roughly equivalent to 200 years. Staff were told that their salary will not be cut, and the workforce will be beefed up by recruiting up to 140 pilots. Chloe Feng, HKIBC.
Overseas, the United States has banned Russian energy imports but dismissed Poland's offer to send fighter jets to Ukraine. As fighting continued, thousands of people left the city of Sumy in the first successful ceasefire since Russia invaded Ukraine. Sarah Wang reports.
For millions of Ukrainians, it's another day of life or death as Russia's invasion nears a third week. Carrying their possessions in plastic bags, hundreds of residents fled the town of Irpin. Soldiers helped children and the elderly wade through the debris that was once their homes. In the besieged northeastern city of Sumy, thousands of people, including hundreds of foreign students, were evacuated. Russia said it's also opening safety corridors in the capital Kyiv and other major cities after a similar attempt was repeatedly derailed in Mariupol. As Russia's top diplomat Sergei Lavrov flew to Turkey to meet his Ukrainian counterpart Dmytro Kuleba, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky continued to press for stronger action against Moscow. He got his wish when the United States, which imports 8% of its oil from Moscow, banned fossil fuel imports from Russia. Britain also barred Russian oil, but not gas and coal, to avoid skyrocketing energy costs. The European Commission plans to slash Russian gas imports by 2/3 this year. In retaliation, Russia threatened to close its main gas pipeline to Germany. Separately, Coca-Cola bowed to global pressure to suspend sales in Russia, while McDonald's and Starbucks closed all shops in the country. But Western unity suffered a setback on the military front when the U.S. dismissed a proposal to help pass Poland's Soviet-era fighter jets over to Ukraine. The Pentagon said such a move would require the jets to travel into contested airspace, and that would create problems for NATO. President Xi Jinping, in a video call with his German and French counterparts, denounced Western sanctions against Russia. Xi pledged to coordinate with European leaders in the search for peace through dialogue. Sarah Wang, HKIBC.
Oil prices jumped again after the United States banned Russian oil imports. Brent crude fetched $131 a barrel, while American crude traded at $126. Some oil companies have stopped buying from Russia, with Shell withdrawing from hydrocarbon projects in the country. There are reports that Russian oil at ports or at sea are unable to find buyers. The Hong Kong stock market closed lower today for the fourth straight session, amid fears of a looming recession triggered by the conflict in Ukraine. Sinopec dropped almost 5% as energy firms took a hit despite rising oil prices. Investors feared that costlier oil will trigger a slump. Mainland developers retreated, with Country Garden losing 7% on fears that an economic slowdown would depress the property market. The Hang Seng Index fell 0.7% to its lowest level in nearly 6 years. Now let's take a look at the markets. The Hang Seng Index ended the day down 138 points. To the top 10 active stocks, Tencent up $1.60, Tracker Fund down 10 cents, Meituan up $3, and Alibaba down 65 cents. Hong Kong exchanges and clearings down $7.22, leaning down $6.35, BYD up $5.90. To the forex trading against the Hong Kong dollar, the euro is trading at 8.58, British pound at 10.29, and Australian dollar at 5.73. Over in the UK market, the FTSE 100 is up 102 points. On to the weather now. Tomorrow will be mainly fine and dry. Temperatures will range between 17 and 24 degrees. There will be sunny periods on Friday and Saturday. Now let's take a look at the weather around the world. That's our main news for Wednesday night. Join us for more news at 11. I'm Johanna Chan. Thanks for watching. Good night.